As you know, there are a ton of frames in Warframe, 58 frames during the time of this video. I've learned about and have played just about all 58. You may say I'm invalid then, but I will tell you no. I just don't care for the newest frame. I already have my top 5 and I know by watching videos she will not be close, at all. Now, enough yapping, let me get into my list, which is in no particular order, of my top 5 favorite frames. But wait, I know I said enough yapping, but this is important. I need to explain why I am picking these frames. Now first off, this is my opinion, so if you try to say, but this frame is better, I may reply saying you're right, but I will also say you're wrong since this is a preference. Now I will try to justify them, saying how they are fun, strong, invincible, or any other thing I look for in a frame. Now, without further ado, the first frame on this list is Zephyr. Now if you watch some of my videos or have seen my comments on my own polls, you may know that I love Zephyr. She just makes the game easy. With some of the frames I've used in Steel Path, it can sometimes feel like a chore to stay alive. With Zephyr, all I need is to activate her little cloud of air that is around her, and well, that's it. Now obviously, to make her fun, you use other abilities and swap out the ability with an Helminth. I like 2 playstyles for her. I like Roar or Nourish for her first ability, as this helps my weapon damage for her tornadoes. So the enemies are affected by the tornadoes and their status much more so than if I didn't have one of those abilities on. Now I will say Nourish is pretty fun with the tornadoes, but Roar may be more useful. Whatever suits your boat. I prefer Nourish, I think, at least. But let me quickly add that people have told me that you can make her deal a ton of damage with her first ability. I don't like her first ability, so I will ignore that. Politely, I'll ignore that. Overall, Zephyr is just fun and easy. Use your tornadoes, make sure your third ability is active, and boom. Real quick, tornadoes and anything with your or our is so hard to pronounce. Just those 2 words together, they suck. Anywho, it's easy peasy, and you can do whatever you want. Just don't get hit with a melee weapon or by an Eximus ability. Then you're fine. Let me also say that although I may show my builds, I am in no means a pro at modding frames or weapons. Not at all. I spend my credits like crazy, so I take a long time to level up my mods. I don't always have a meta, where I have to pair 3 weapons and a little buddy with my frame, in order for the frame to be fun, survive, or deal damage. I just focus on the frame itself. Again, not a pro at modding, just have to make that clear for the angry people in the comments. Next is a frame that was recently reworked, and that is Caliban. After his rework, it's been really fun to play as Caliban. You have your little sentient minions that actually do something for once, unlike other minions for frames, Atlas, especially with the melee sentience. When you use your 4, they also use it too. So you use your 4th ability 4 times at once, with no extra charge. Now that's awesome. Wait, I'm sorry. I didn't mention what his 4th does. This ability has 3 beams. One is in the middle, one is coming from the left, and one is coming from the right. And they all meet up at the middle beam, like a clap. These explode once they meet in the middle and shred enemy armor. It's a pretty good ability, especially when paired with the melee buddies. Now his sentient buddies, that's his 3rd ability, has 3 types of sentience. A big Bertha that births 3 little guys, and they give Caliban added shields and shoot enemies as well. The other 2 types spawn in 3 sentience, with one type being a mortar essentially, and the other ones being the melee sentience. The mortar guys aren't really that good, but they are cool to watch when you stand off to the side. His whole kit is good in my opinion. His first has you spin like Inaros, dealing Tau damage to enemies while replenishing part of your shields and energy with each enemy hit. Then pair this with his 2nd ability, where you activate his 2nd, which holds enemies in the air, with Tau, I guess, and they take an amplified amount of damage. So you then use your 1st ability on them, and they become very vulnerable to damage. He's very fun to play as in my opinion, and his kit has some pretty good synergy. He's also the best frame in terms of his companions. His actually work well and do something, unlike Atlas. Again, I really like Atlas, but his rumblers suck, and he really needs a rework. Caliban's very strong too, as his Tau can have some serious effects on enemies, as well as stripping their armor, which is always needed, especially in Steel Path missions. Now, we're in the middle of this list, and I would like to quickly say I apologize for not being as technical as some of you may want me to be. I like this way of describing them, and this video is fun for me, as these are my favorite frames. Not frames for a meta or anything, just frames I genuinely enjoy or always need as my go-to for hard missions. So it's easier to describe them this way. So I hope you're enjoying this video as much as I am, and if you are or aren't, let me know in the comments. Now moving on to the 3rd frame I have, and please be calm and stay with me for this one. I have Hydroid. Now what in the world? He sucks. Yes, maybe he kinda does, but I am a sucker. I'm a sucker for his style and his theme, which is, the ocean, the kraken, or just water, however you want to describe it. But I hate Ureli, or however you say her name. I don't like her playstyle. It drives me nuts. Anywho, Hydroid is one of the most satisfying frames in the game because of the sounds. I mean, just listen to these abilities. Amazing, right? Now obviously he has some purpose. His corrosive damage buffs are really nice to have. His first ability may be underrated, but it can be used incredibly well. Also is used as a helmet for many other abilities, or many other frames in the game. Pair it with his fourth and you can really clear out enemies, or at least shred their armor, then clear them out. His third is pretty useful as well. Although I swear the armor sometimes does nothing, the added corrosive damage is just phenomenal. And his second. Now this one may be underrated, but with the augment on this ability you can clear status effects on you, something that I feel goes under the radar but is very useful. If you don't care that much about status effects on you, which I feel like you should, you can swap this out as your helmet slot. Now again with this ability, the sound of it, I mean, I just love it. Now his fourth, again, one of the most satisfying abilities in my opinion, just spawn in your tentacles, use your third and first ability, and that's it. This can also help with farming as his tentacles have a nice augment mod that allows enemies to have a 100% chance to drop additional items. Overall, a very satisfying frame to me. And if you're like me, and you like the sound of rain or the ocean, then you probably like him because of that. Or you just don't care or hate the sound, which is fair. His corrosive is what really wins him over in terms of effectiveness. He also has a crowd control, but I will say sometimes it's hard to keep him alive. I could be doing something wrong, but even with rolling guard on, I can have some trouble in higher levels. Number 2, again in no order, is Wisp. She's just pretty reliable. Not like Ember's Heirloom, there are other reasons people love Wisp, but her kit is just really good. Her standout ability, her reservoirs, are amazing. A fire rate buff, a health buff, and a little bit of crowd control. That's just so amazing that it can't be in one ability. Plus you could use this indefinitely. If you have a decent range on her, you can just stand in the circle of your reservoirs and always have those buffs on. Her second ability makes you invisible and invulnerable, plus a damage multiplier with her third. Her fourth I refuse to talk about. Just go watch my YouTube short on her. So let's go back to her second and third. Her second sends out another wisp that you can teleport to or just use as a distraction while you're invisible to the enemy. Did I mention you're always invisible in the air? I know, cool, right? You can just glide in the air if you don't want to get shot at or take any damage. Then her third, just dealing added damage, and a lot of it, to any enemy that has a big ol' blob on their face. And on top of that, they're blinded, and you can use it to teleport to your reservoir. That's pretty cool if you ask me. Not only is she very useful, but she's fun. Yet again, a common theme that you can see. You can teleport, jump to be invisible, deal a ton of damage, have the health of a tank, and stun enemies, and blind them. What a kit. Just wait until I talk about the next one and what she can do on paper. I just said on paper, so that means it can't always be so easy. Sometimes it doesn't matter, sometimes you mess up and you die in that 1 second that you do mess up. Oh well, that's okay. It doesn't mean that the frame sucks or that the abilities are trash, it's just how the game can get. Moving on to the last frame in this list is Mag. Now as you may know, Mag is one of the starting frames. She's also the strongest starting frame. How? Well, let me tell you. Her first ability is This is her helmet slot, in my opinion. Also, if I don't talk about ability, it's because it isn't that useful. But I wouldn't be mad if you don't swap this one out. In this case, her first one can be useful, but there's much more use there with a helmet in my opinion. Plus, if you swap out any of her other abilities, then you're just dumb. No offense. Her second is a big old bubble. I will only talk about the bubble part and not the other way of using this ability, as it sucks. Well, I guess the second one's a bubble, but you'll get what I mean. Again, in my opinion. I think I've said that enough by now, but if you couldn't tell, all of this is my opinion. When you cast a bubble upon an enemy, it has a chance to deal the most amount of damage any ability can deal in its time frame. I would say this is rival to Octavia's first ability. Enemies cannot shoot out of this bubble, and if they do shoot, which they will have their own bullets come right back at them. You can shoot into the bubble, preferably with a weapon that has darts or something like that, so it can spin around in the bubble dealing damage instead of just going straight to the middle right away and not spinning around. You can use your third ability that also shreds away shields and some armor. That can deal some slash damage to those hit by it, by the shards at least, from the enemies that are killed by the third ability. So her third we pretty much already talked about. You can get rid of shields and some armor, as well as having shards that deal slash damage to the peeps in the bubble. Now her fourth, and it's kind of magical, literally, this is the true armor stripping ability when you have its augment mod on. So add the augment mod onto it, you also have extra shields for yourself, plus it deals some good damage. but really the added shields and armor strip is what we're really looking at for this ability. Overall, she's pretty great on paper, so let's read it out. Armor stripping, extra shields, damage dealing bubble, a ton of damage in case that wasn't clear, shield stripping, and slash damage, so kind of like health stripping. There's a lot of stripping going on here. Now the only trouble with her is staying alive, in my opinion, which is where you have shield gating and a bunch of in-depth guides to it, for her at least, in terms of keeping her alive. Now I don't have a ton of trouble with her being alive as long as I'm moving and activating that fourth, so make sure you have some extra casting speed with those yellow shards. Now a quick overview of everything I mentioned: Zephyr, Caliban, Hydroid, Wisp, and Mag. Did I overhype them? Most certainly. Is it valid? To me, yes. Should you get them? Definitely all of them. Maybe except for Hydroid. He's just for fun. He isn't the greatest later on. Should you listen to me? I don't know. Did I mess something up? Maybe. I know the comments will call me out if I misspoke, but these are my favorite frames, and if you're still listening, first off, thank you. Second off, great attention span. I didn't know my videos could be at least this entertaining. Now I hope this video goes over whatever you were trying to get out of it. I want to be as entertaining as I can with these videos, as well as guiding you over to my lore videos. I enjoy doing the research and editing for those videos, so please go give those videos some love and let me know what you thought about them. The thumbnails for them will not only be up on the video, but they will also be linked in the description below. While you're at it, let me know what you thought of the video. Now with all that said, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.